Welcome back to the Codefreak channel. Freak out as you code. So in this tutorial, we'll be looking at functions in JavaScript. So quite often we need to perform similar actions, okay, many times, right? So for example, maybe you want to show a nice message when a user logs out, then maybe you want to say, so this person has logged out, something like that. So logs in or logs out, so stuff like that, right? So these things can be done with the help of functions. So functions help to split the code into snippets, which makes it easier to handle the code. And they are the main building blocks as of the program as such. So the functions actually allow us to avoid repetition of the code. So that's also something which we will look at right now. So, but we have already seen some inbuilt functions like alert, prompt, confirm, then so many more actually, splice, if you remember all those things. So these are some functions which are inbuilt. So I have actually created a HTML file and I have linked it to functions.js here. I have linked it to this file which is there here. All right. So now let's start coding. So first, looking at the function boilerplate. First use the keyword function. So this is how you declare a function. Then you give it a name. You give the name for the function. Then you have these normal brackets and then you have these curly brackets. So inside these curly brackets you put body. You put the body or whatever are the statements that you need to write, and inside these curly brackets you put something called parameters. Don't worry, we will look into all of these, I mean, in the near future, very soon. All right. This is the boilerplate of the function, how you use function, right? There is one more way also where you can use the function, which is called the function expression. We'll look at that also. This is called the function declaration. So you use the function keyword first and then you can name the variable. So right now it's going to say hello world or hi, so you can just put say hello as the function name. Then there are no parameters for now. We'll learn about the parameters later. Then you can have the alert here. All right. And then inside the alert you can maybe put in hello. You just save this and see, you will get you won't get anything as of now. See, you won't get anything. Why? Because you have not called the function. So there is something called function calling, so which we will do now. Say hello. So you have to type say hello, and then whatever parameters are there you have to give it in here. Since there are no parameters, you don't need to worry, and then you have to put a semicolon. So now what happens is it is going to search for the function which is having a name say hello, and then whatever lines of code are there inside this is going to be run. All right. So that's what a function actually does. So it avoids repetition. So now you can see you got one hello. So say you want to say hello a few more times, for example that. So now you will see, you'll get say hello. If I press OK, you'll get once more. See, you got once more. So that's how this whole function as such works. So now let us look at the parameters for the functions. All right. So let me just leave it this way only. So say I want to put in some parameter here and give a name. I want to say hello Codefreak or whatever your name is. All right. So let me just remove that. Let me give a gap here, and then you can catenate. You can do string catenation plus name. So it's always good to keep these gaps also. So it's good, right? And then here you have to give in the name. So let's give in a name, maybe Codefreak here, and then yeah, I'll just comment this out. So now you'll actually get a hello Codefreak. Why? Because this, whatever you have put here, this string is going to get when you call the function, basically you're calling it here, right? So it's going to get stored in this variable which is locally made called Codefreak. So it's a parameter here. All right. So then in this alert, what's going to happen? You're going to attach hello and the name, whatever is there in the name, right? That's how this will work. Just let's run it. You will see properly. So you got hello Codefreak. So if you change this Codefreak to Codefreak 3 maybe, so now actually you will get Codefreak 3, right? So that's how you can use parameters also. So maybe you want the first name and the last name separately, so that also can work, right? So you can have a first name. You can have many parameters as such, so you can just put a comma and then you can put in all the parameters that you want. All right, like that. And then you can have Codefreak, and maybe the last name is freak out as you code. Change this also to first name, otherwise it will give error, right? First name in the same manner, and then maybe you want to add in a gap or a space, right? So let me put a plus there, and let's give a gap, and then again do string catenation and type in last name. right? Now you will see that you will get hello Codefreak, freak out as you code. Yeah, that is a way you can use parameters also. I'll show you one more example to make this concept clear. Okay, so let's make a function which is going to find the factorial of a number. Factorial of 5 is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 till 1. So basically that's what is a factorial. So let's make a function and then let's name it factorial, because you're going to calculate the factorial of the number, right? And then let's give in the number here. So let's say n is the number, or num, you can just call it num, and then you can actually we can use a while loop. So yeah, and the condition should be num should be greater than 0. So that is the condition. We are going to decrement the num by 1. So after creating a variable to decrease the number as we go ahead. So we'll do num minus minus. So that is important. And then one more thing that we need to do is we need to store it in another number, right? So let's create that variable here, result. Yeah, that should be good. Similar to how you can create a variable outside, you can create it inside also. So these variables are called local variables. So whatever you create outside, they may be called outer variables or global variables. We will talk about that just after this example. So don't just worry about it. I'll go for it. So now what we have to do is we have to put result equal star equal to, because we want to multiply star equal to num. So and also we have to initialize it to 1. That, yeah, because you're multiplying, 1 is actually good, right? We have to return this, or we have to get this result, right? So we are learning one more concept which is called return. So return, so this is the keyword return, and then you can return the result, and you can put a semicolon. So when you can so how do you actually call these functions? So you can do let, you can create a variable which is going to have the result. So you can give a name to that result. So maybe I'll call it here fact. Yeah, that should be fine. Any name for that matter you can do, and then you call the factorial function. Okay, and then you give a number there. Let's console.log. Let's console.log the fact. All right. So now you will be able to see you get 720 for. It's working for 2, and let's check it for 4. So factorial of 4 will be 4 into 3, which is 12 into 2, 24, perfect. Let's check the factorial of 5, 24 into 5 basically. So that is 120. So see, our factorial program is working perfectly fine. So we have looked at the return also, not giving anything here. Okay, let's see what happens now. You're getting 1, right? So there is no problem. This num is considered undefined, and you don't get any problem as such. So say you want a default value, so you can just put num equal to whatever is a default value. So 5, for example. So you can do that. So in case you don't assign or you don't put any value here in the middle, that's going to take number as 5. But say if you put 6 here, all right. So this is called the default parameter which we have used. So 6, you are getting the it's replacing 5 with 6. So this is one way of actually dealing with default parameter. Or you can put in an if statement here inside this, and then you can put if num is undefined, then you can put the default parameter there also. You can equate num to whatever it is. That's also possible in JavaScript. So these are some things with respect to the return statement and the default parameter and the parameters as such. So we have looked at one nice example here, factorial example. So now let's go ahead and look at what are local variables and what are outer variables, as I had told before. A variable declared inside a function, or which is visible only inside the function. So for example, if I just make this code normal. So yeah, this also. So in case I put a result here, okay, put result here, what's going to happen is that it's going to put result is not defined, because the result is defined only within these blocks of this block of statement. Even if I put num here also, it's going to say it is not defined. All right. So that is something which you have to keep in mind. So it's a local variable, so its scope is only here. All right. So there is something called scope and life. So here the scope and the life is only here only. All right. So but for sometimes when you do something like a recursion or something of that sort, you may actually have the life of the variable but not the scope of the variable. So that is also there. What an outer variable is. So variables which are declared outside the function. So yeah, for example, this is the outer variable. For this while loop as such, this result is the outer variable. All right. So that is the way you can actually think. And fact is a global variable because it's available to any function that you actually put inside this whole thing. So that's a global variable unless it is shadowed by local. So if you have another variable called fact here inside this, so if you can do that also. So then what happens is when you change the fact variable here, it doesn't get changed outside. So that is something which you can actually remember at that. So there's one more important thing which you have to remember. You have to act as much as possible while writing a code, you don't use global variables. That is a good way of using the code and stuff like that. All right. Now actually let us look at something called function naming. So this part is also going to be a little bit theoretical. So just bear with me for that. All right. So when functions are used to, the functions are as such used to do one particular specific action. That's something which you have to remember, because see, we had a function here which calculated the factorial. So in that way it should have one clear motive or one clear thing what it's going to do. So that is very important. So you should name the function based on that. It has to clearly describe what the function does. When we see a function call in the code, what is a function call? This is a function call, for example. Okay. So when we see a function call in the code, we should be able to instantaneously understand what is happening there. So there are some ways which you can make it happen. So you may there are well-known prefixes which you can use for the functions, which are create, show, get, and check. So these are some things which will help you to make good hints. So you can follow a pattern of your own. See, if it's only you who is going to use the program, then you can make some pattern for yourself. But if you're working with a group of people, then it's better that you use something common which helps out all of you guys. Yeah, that is the main thing here. So that's it about naming. Now let's look into something called function expressions. So so let's take this same factorial example. I'm just going to copy this from here and paste it here. Okay. So now we do it like this and then put like that. All right. So this also creates a function. So instead of factorial, actually you should use the keyword function, because you are not going to give it any name. This is how you create a function. So when this line is run, only for this particular thing it's going to happen. So you can put it that way, and then you can put a number here. So there are parameters as such with respect to this, because is something which you don't need when you're doing it this way, because it's going to be called only here. So that is something which you need to remember. So you can have this whole thing here, right, like this. I'll just uncomment this, so it will still work. So this is a function expression. Okay. So that is something which I wanted to show you. So let me talk about some differences between this function expression, this is function expression, and this is function declaration. Okay, this is function declaration. I hope you can see that. Okay. So function declaration creates the function, and a function declaration, it's declared as a separate statement. So that's first thing. And when you look at this function expression, you have a assignment operator, which is the equal to here, right? That's the first difference which you can think of. Then both are actually kind of different, though they perform the same action. Use this function expression only when you don't want to use function declaration. So that is something which you can actually remember. So see, this function actually, when you defined it in this manner, if I would have put this statement above also, it would have worked, because the internal algorithm is made in such a way in JavaScript that it doesn't matter where you put the functions. So that is one more important thing which you can actually remember. So that's the main part of the functions. So now let's look at something which is the bonus concept, which I'm going to go ahead and do now. All right, which is the arrow function. So this is a shortcut for using the function instead of typing out the whole function. So I'll show you the boilerplate for the arrow functions. So arrow functions. Okay, arrow functions are handy for one line functions. So that's the main objective of this. There are two flavors. We'll look at all of them. It's a very simple and concise syntax for creating functions, and it's often better than that function expression. So it's made in this manner. So let func, so this is the function that we are making, function name. So you put function name there, and then you put in the arguments here. So if you have more than one argument, then you can use the normal brackets, otherwise you don't even need to use the normal brackets. Okay, so then you have to use equal to and this sign, which is the greater than sign, and then you can have the statements in the body here. So this is how you actually have, and if you have only one line, you don't even need to have this curly brackets here. The same way as if you have only one argument, you don't even need to have this. So let's look at examples now. Okay. So let's create an arrow function right now. So let's give the function name to be sum. So maybe you want to calculate sum of two numbers. So you can have two parameters. These are the two parameters, right? A and B. And then you can put an arrow function here. You can put the arrow, and then maybe you just want A plus B, right? So it calculates this expression and returns it. All right. So if you want to do console.log sum, so you can do that console.log. You can do sum of maybe 2, 4, something like that. So we should get 6, right? Let's see whether we get 6. See what 6. So that's how. So that's it for today's videos, guys. Just look at the questions which I have put here and try to attempt all of them, which is really important. Okay. So that's it. If you have watched the video till here, please like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay. Bye bye.